Everyone, thank you so much for taking the time out of your afternoon today to attend our technical assistance webinar for the reporting for the literacy coaches and reading specialists, or the LCRS program. Before we begin, I have some housekeeping details to share with you. All webinar participants have been placed on mute. Please try to hold your questions until the end of the webinar. The presentation itself will address many of your questions, but we will have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So at that time, please submit your questions to us. And note that these PowerPoint slides with notes will be available on the California Department of Education or the CDE LCRS grant program webpage at https://www.cde.ca.gov/pd/LCRS-program.asp. So thanks again for joining us today for our webinar on the annual report for the LCRS program. Today, we are going to give you an overview of the LCRS program. We'll give you some information on allocations and apportionments, allowed expenditures, an overview of the report itself, and then, as I mentioned, we'll have question and answers at the very end. This technical assistance webinar is provided by the Educator Excellence and Equity Division at the California Department of Education. My name is Jennifer Howarder, and I am an Education Programs Consultant in the Professional Learning Innovations Office. And I am joined today by Havana Chang, Staff Services Analyst, also in the Professional Learning Innovations Office. Now let's go into a little overview of the LCRS program, just a little refresher. So Assembly Bill 181, Section 137, Chapter 52, Statutes of 2022 authorizes the LCRS program. The sum of $250 million was appropriated from the general fund to the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, or the SSPI, for the LCRS program. Of the total funding, the SSPI allocated $225 million to eligible school sites to develop school literacy programs, employ and train literacy coaches and reading and literacy specialists, and develop and implement interventions for students in need of targeted literacy support. Funds were allocated based on an eligible site's enrollment in kindergarten or any of grades 1 to 3 or K through 3 inclusive, so that no local educational agency or LEA shall receive less than $450,000 per eligible school sites. Grant amounts were determined using the 2021-22 school enrollment data determined as of the California Longitudinal Pupil Achievement Data System Fall 1 certification. Funds may be expended through the 2027 fiscal year. Any funds not encumbered by June 30th, 2027 must be returned to the CDE. Of the funds appropriated, $25 million is available for the SSPI in collaboration with the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and subject to the approval of the Executive Director of the State Board of Education to select a County Office of Education, or COE, through a competitive process to develop and provide training for educators to become literacy coaches and reading and literacy specialists. And now I'm going to pass it over to Havana for some information on allocations and apportionments.
Thank you, Jennifer. So I'll be briefly talking about some of the key fiscal details. The entities eligible for this funding are identified in the statute as elementary school sites that are operated by a school district or county office of education, COE. An eligible school site may also be a charter school. A school site must have an unduplicated pupil percentage of 97% or greater for grades kindergarten through grade 3. K through 3. Please note that this percentage is determined using 2021 to 22 data for pupils eligible for free or reduced price meals, English language learners, ELLs, and youth in foster care. It's a separate calculation for grades K through 3 only and does not include data for additional grades served at the site. The program is formula-driven and there was no application required in order to receive the funds. The funding formula for this program requires an equal amount per pupil in grades K through 3 and also establishes a minimum funding level of $450,000 per eligible school site. And while there is no application required to receive funds, this program did provide an opportunity for eligible local educational agencies, LEAs, to opt out of the program participation for one or more eligible school sites. LEAs that elected to decline funds had a deadline of September 30th, 2022 to notify CDE of that decision by submitting the online opt-out form. Funds for any non-participants were reallocated to other participating school sites, which means that the per pupil amount will be increased slightly for other participants and the same minimum funding level will apply. So the amount that we calculate for each eligible school site is referred to as the allocation. Final allocations were posted in January 2023, and allocations are available on https://www.cde.ca.gov/fg/fo/r14/lit coaches 22 results.asp. The apportionment or payment for the LCRS grant program was also posted in January 2023 and reflected 100% of the calculated allocation. Regarding funding availability, these funds are available for encumbrance through June 30th, 2027. And for accounting purposes, LEAs will use standardized account code software resource code 6211 titled LCRS grant program. Lastly, fiscal resources such as funding results, frequently asked questions, and links to the statute are available on our fiscal webpage at https://www.cde.ca.gov/fg/aa/literacycoaches.asp. And any questions regarding the calculation or apportionment of funds may be directed to the fiscal office at caar@cde.ca.gov. So let's move into some allowable uses of funds. So LCRS funds are to be used for developing school literacy programs, employing and training literacy coaches and reading and literacy specialists, and developing and implementing interventions for students in need of targeted literacy support. The authorizing statute provides additional information on expenditures for school literacy programs. This includes 1, developing a school literacy plan that includes goals and actions to improve literacy acquisition for pupils in preschool, if applicable, and grades K through 3 inclusive. The plan shall identify metrics to measure progress towards the goals and actions. 2, hiring at least one literacy coach or reading and literacy specialist per school to support educators and pupils in improving literacy instruction and pupil outcomes. 3, increasing access to evidence-based literacy instruction through strategies including, but not limited to, any of the following: providing bilingual reading specialists to support dual language acquisition and English language development, ELD programs, developing and implementing culturally responsive curriculum and instruction, providing professional development, PD, for educators and school leaders in literacy instruction and the use of data to identify and support struggling pupils, and providing PD for educators and school leaders regarding implementation of English language arts/ELD framework and the use of data to support effective instruction. 4, establishing an evidence-based family literacy initiative, which may include, but is not limited to, the following: family literacy plans that identify literacy and biliteracy goals, benchmarks, and roles for all family members, family literacy home visiting programs, including but not limited to Promotora family literacy outreach specialists, and LEAs may establish literacy and biliteracy home visits to engage families in how to best support their pupils and every family member in reaching their literacy goals. Extended day, summer, or weekend family institutes related to literacy and biliteracy. LEAs are encouraged to work with in-house expanded learning programs to establish literacy and biliteracy programs and literacy enrichment programs during after-school, weekend, and summer hours. And finally, public library family literacy partnerships, including but not limited to digital tools to support whole family literacy. Now I'll be handing it back over to Jennifer to talk about some of the reporting requirements.
Thank you so much. So let's start talking about the actual report itself. Annual reports will be due no later than September 30th each fiscal year. The first annual report is due September 30th, 2023, and this also acts as the interim report. A final report is expected by spring 2027 and no later than June 30th, 2027. A reporting template is available on the CDE LCRS webpage at https://www.cde.ca.gov/ps/LCRS-program.asp. The CDE is requiring annual reporting as a response to requests for detailed information in the legislative reports to justify future funding opportunities and to confirm funding is being appropriately used and tracked at the local level. Here is our reporting timeline. So as I said, September 30th, 2023 is our first report, and you'll report activities between January of 2023 and June 30th of 2023. September 30th, 2024, you'll report on activities between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024. September 30th, 2025, you'll report on activities between July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. September 30th, 2026, you'll report on activities between July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And then in spring of 2027, our final report is due. Note that this report is at the LEA level, and for a summative assessment percentage increases or decreases compared to the prior year's data. You're going to answer all applicable questions on each page, and answers will be automatically saved when you go to the next page. But if you want to manually save, you can select the Save button. And at the end of the reports, you must select the Submit button to finalize your submission. You can access the reports at https://www.2, that's the number 2, .cde.ca.gov/LCRS funds. If you go to that webpage, and Havana just put the link in the chat, you'll see that there is a survey sample link, and this gives you a sneak peek of the entire survey. I'll be going through the reports section by section, so feel free to have that webpage up to follow along as I do so. Login information for the actual report will be sent to our primary contact on file after this webinar. If after a week you have not received it, or if you happen to lose it, please go ahead and contact us. Now let's talk about the report itself. The report has several sections, including contact information, funds report overview, LCRS information, school literacy plan, family literacy plan, professional learning, impact on student achievement, and the submission. First is contact information. This is pretty straightforward. We are asking you to input the contact information for the program administrator of the LCRS program. This person will be our primary contact for any questions we have. Next, we are asking you to input the contact information for the fiscal agents if they are different from the program administrator. This person will be our primary contact for any budget questions we have or budget information. If the program administrator is the same as the fiscal agent, you do not have to enter the information twice. Next is Funds Report Overview. For this section, we are asking you to provide the dollar amount of LCRS funds used for this fiscal year. If you haven't spent LCRS funds this year, you can report the total as 0. However, if you haven't spent any LCRS funds this year, we will ask you to provide a reason why and your anticipated time frame for spending the funds. Next, we will ask you about any collaboration you've had with our COE lead. As the county office has not yet begun their work, this is not applicable for this first year, but we would hope in subsequent years you would have information to report. And finally, we are asking for a brief executive summary of this year's activities, including how funds were spent to employ literacy coaches and reading specialists, how funds were used to develop and implement school literacy programs, and how expenditures impacted student literacy achievement, including for student subgroups. For the literacy coaches, reading specialists, and bilingual reading specialist sections on this page, you are going to report similar information: the number hired, the amount of funding used to hire, the amount of funding used for other purposes related to these positions, the total expenditure for each position, and whether services were provided by a vendor, and if so, the vendor names and specific services provided. Additionally, we will ask you to report how many reading specialists hired have either the added authorization or the specialist credential. If you have used any other funds to support these positions, we will ask you to report the source and amount. And finally, we will ask you to report on any successes or challenges. We have included checkboxes for commonly stated successes and challenges, and will then ask that you provide additional details on any success or challenge selected. Note that if you have not hired staff for some or all of these positions, you would simply indicate 0 in the appropriate box. Next is School Literacy Plan. So you can indicate yes or no if you have used funds to develop and or implement a school literacy plan. If you select yes, we will ask you additional questions. If no, you will skip to the next section of the reports. Note that we will ask you specifically about family literacy plans in the next section of the report. For the school literacy plan section, we want you to report on the goals and actions of the school literacy plan that you have developed. We are also asking that you report on the intended metrics to measure progress on those goals and actions. We want to know the total LCRS funding spent, as well as any additional funds spent on school literacy plans, including their sources. Because this allowable expense can have a lot of different elements to it, we are asking you to report on the expenditure type, amount, and details. This is all organized by object code. Finally, as in the last section, we will ask you to report on successes and challenges. Next is Family Literacy Plan. You can indicate yes or no if you have used funds to develop and or implement a family literacy plan. If you select yes, we will ask you additional questions. If no, you will skip to the next section of the report. This report includes much the same information as the school literacy plan section. That is, we will ask you for the goals and actions of the family literacy plan, the metrics you will use to measure progress, the amount of funding spent, whether other funds were used and their sources, the expenditure type, amount, and detail, and successes and challenges. However, there is an additional section for the family literacy plan, reporting on the types of supports offered. These include the number of family literacy outreach specialists serving at eligible sites, the languages spoken by these family outreach specialists, the number of home visits performed, the number of extended day events related to literacy, and the total number of families served, the number of summer events related to literacy, and the total number of families served, the number of weekend events related to literacy, and the total number of families served, the names of any public libraries the LEA has partnered with, and any other information on family literacy events that these questions did not cover. Next is professional learning. This section starts out with providing an overview of the professional learning you've offered using LCRS funds, including the number of participants, how many of those participants were district-based, how many of those participants were site-based, the total number of professional learning hours offered, and the total number of professional learning opportunities offered. And then we ask for a breakdown of the classification of the participants, including classroom teachers, literacy coaches, reading specialists, administrators, paraprofessionals, and other classified staff. And finally, we will ask you the type of professional learning offered. You can select English Language Arts, English Language Development Framework and Literacy Instruction, culturally responsive curriculum and instruction, and use of data to support effective instruction in struggling students. You can select one or all of these categories. Depending on the category you choose, you will be directed to that part of the report. Regardless of the ones you select, we will ask you to report on the same elements: the number and focus of each professional learning event in that category, including materials used, trainer, provider, curriculum, etc., the professional classification of the participants, and the total expenditure amount for that category. After you provide information on those categories, we will ask similar questions as the other sections: the expenditure type, amount, and detail, the other funds you may have used to support professional learning, including their sources, and any successes or challenges. Impact on student achievement is the last section of the report. First, we will ask you to report data from the state assessments using the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CASP. We will ask you to indicate the overall percentage of increase or decrease in student literacy achievement for grade 3. You would use the prior year's data to determine that increase or decrease. Then, still using the CASP, we'll ask you to report the percentage of increase or decrease for each student subgroup, including African American, American Indian, Asian, English learner, Filipino, foster youth, Hispanic, homeless, Pacific Islander, socioeconomically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, 2 or more races, and white. Next, we know that many LEAs use local assessments. So we will ask you to name those assessments and then provide the same data for grade 3, the percentage of increase or decrease overall, and then broken down by each student subgroup. Next, we are also concerned about student data before grade 3. So much the same as the previous section, we will ask you to name the local assessments you're using for before grade 3, the percentage of increase or decrease overall, and then broken down by each student subgroup. Finally, we are asking you to report on EL student reclassification. For the year prior to receiving LCRS funds, indicate the percentage of EL students and the percentage of reclassified EL students. For the current fiscal year, report the number of EL students and the number of reclassified EL students. Now we can finally submit our report. So the authorizing official must type their name in the field to certify the accuracy of the report. You will select Next and then Submit. You will also be provided with a confirmation number and a printable version of your responses. And now I'll hand it back over to Havana to talk a little bit about our timeline.
So this is a tentative timeline of events. We will provide one more in-depth on the LCRS webpage. In early 2023, you can expect full apportionment. In summer of 2023, the County Office of Education will be awarded, and on September 30th, 2023, the first report will be due. So these are some helpful resources. So the LCRS program webpage is going to be found at https://www.cde.ca.gov/pd/LCRS-program.asp. And the LCRS funding webpage can be found at http:// www.cde.ca.gov/fg/FO/R14/LIT coaches22result.asp. We will now take questions. Some questions may require additional research, and for those questions and others, we will post the answers on the LCRS Frequently Asked Questions webpage. If you would like access to those questions earlier, feel free to email us. And
Well, thank you. And I see that there were lots of questions coming up in the chat and in the question and answer section. So if there were any questions that I see, Jamie has asked, will the base allocation of 450,000 be increased? No, that was determined in legislation, and so the floor for allocations will remain 450,000. I noticed there were several questions about having a link to the slides and the recording. We will be posting a link to both the slides and recording as soon as they are available. So we'll send that out a little bit later. And Lydia, the report is a new report every year. So you'll go ahead and fill out a new one every year. Smiley, there is a template that is available, and I can go ahead and put a link to that in the chat. This is our main LCRS program webpage, and you'll see that the link to the template is at the bottom. Jennifer is asking, if funds were not used this year, I see you enter 0 and a brief explanation. Will we need to fill out the rest? I do think that there are some aspects of the report that are still required, but you could just enter zeros throughout. NAs were appropriate, and that should be fine. You will, though, have to enter on that LCRS funds overview section, a brief explanation as to why funds have not yet been spent and your anticipated timeline for starting to spend the funds. And Lydia, yes, the link to the report, I'll go ahead and paste that in the chat again. You will be submitting your report at this link. But you do not have login information yet. I will be sending out that login information along with links to the recording and the slides ASAP. If for some reason you have not received that within a week, then please go ahead and reach out to me. Let me put my contact information in the chat. This is PLIO. I'll skip to that slide real fast. All program questions will be sent to plio@cde.ca.gov, and we'll be able to answer any questions you have or get you your login information if you haven't yet received it within the week or you have lost it. And then I'm seeing in the Q&A a question about how do we get a password for the LCRS funds login page. I will be sending out that password within a week, if not much sooner than that. So you should be receiving some information from me soon. A question, should funds be allocated directly to the school sites to monitor and spend, or should funds be overseen centrally? So the funds were given out at the LEA level, but the funds are only eligible to be spent at those particular sites. So it's really how you determine how you want the funds to go out. If you want to have the funds go directly to those school sites for them to directly monitor and spend, or if you at the district level want to maintain that oversight. Please note, however, that we are reporting at the LEA level and not the individual site level. And then Another question, if 6 of the sites of my LEA were awarded, do I have to submit a report for each school or one for the LEA encompassing all six schools? It is at the LEA level. Amanda in the chat, we need to purchase technology for the specialists and teachers working on our literacy plan. Is technology equipment and allowable use of funds? I like let me put in the chat a link to our main page. This also has an FAQs link on it that goes into a little bit more in depth for allowable expenses. So just in terms of how it allows you to actually complete a literacy plan, to provide literacy PD to those sites eligible and staff working at those sites eligible, then theoretically it would be an allowable use of funds. And then in the Q&A, how would I know if the charter schools are directly funded? They are listed under my LEA. So in the, one moment, I'll put the link in the chat. In this fiscal site, you have a link to all of the LEAs and then the sites that have received funds. So you can find your LEA in there and then the sites that have received funds, and you'll be able to see if those sites in particular under your LEA have received those funds. And then Leanne asking in the chat, for clarity, the sections regarding impact on student achievements, will those be filled out for the first report in September 2023, comparing spring 2023 data to spring 2022? So you would, the last available data point that you have, you would use that and then compare it to the prior year's similar data points. So it seems that yes, you would be using spring 23 data comparing to spring 22 if those are your last data points. Smiley asking if funds were not used this year. I see that you enter 0 in a brief explanation. Will we need to fill out the rest? No worries about missing the response. Definitely you will enter 0 in a brief explanation, why you have not spent the funds, and your anticipated timeline for spending the funds. There may still be sections in the report that will require you to answer them, just because that's how like the logic of the survey was set up. However, you can just go ahead and enter 0 and NA as necessary throughout the reports. But just definitely make sure to fill out those applicable sections. Here we are, Stephanie. If running an after-school reading program, would it need to be a certificated employee teaching it, or could a LIT, I think IA, maybe instructional aid, support it? There is nothing in the legislation requiring a specific type of person to be running an after-school reading program. Do remember, of course, that you can always reach out to us at our plio@cde.ca.gov. We monitor that email account daily, and so if any other questions come up, we are happy to answer them. But if that is it, then we'll go ahead and end this webinar. Remember again that we will be posting the slides and the recording as soon as we can get them up, and I will also be sending out your login information for the actual reporting sites. But again, any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much to Havana for helping me with the slides, and to Julia for being so great in answering all of our questions. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great afternoon.